Alright, let's go over this review. Number one, when Justin goes to work, he drives an average of 55 miles an hour. It takes about 1 hour and 30 minutes for Justin to arrive at work. His car travels about 30 miles per gallon of gas. If gas costs $3.45 per gallon, how much money does Justin spend to travel each mile to work? So it wants the cost, how much money, to travel each mile. Well, that has nothing to do with how fast he's going or how long it takes him to get there. It simply has to do with how much gas costs and how many miles per gallon his car gets. So gas, it costs $3.45 for every 1 gallon. And for every 1 gallon of gas, he gets 30 miles. The gallons cancel out. So his rate of spending is $3.45 for 30 miles. We now divide that because I want 1 mile. Divide that, we get 0.115, which is approximately 0.12 or 12 cents per mile. So the answer is D, 12 cents per mile. All right, number two. Scroll down here. A rectangular prism has a volume of 3 meters cubed. So a rectangular prism, we're talking about a rectangular solid here. So maybe like that, and like that, and we draw lines here. So this is a 3-dimensional rectangular solid. And it tells us that the length is 30, the width is 40, and we want to know how much the height is. Well, remember, for any 3-dimensional figure, the volume is length times width times height. So x times 40 centimeters times 30 centimeters has to equal 3 meters. Well, the problem hopefully you see here is we have different units. So we got to change everything into meters will be the easiest way to do it. So x and 40 centimeters times, that's 0.4 meters, times 0.3 meters equals 3. All right, so that gives me 0.12x, when we multiply those together, equals 3. Divide both sides by 0.12. And h equals 25 meters. So the answer is D. All right, number 3, the number of terms in the following expression after being simplified and the leading coefficient. So the number of terms in the leading coefficient. First I simplify. I got 3x squared here and negative 3x squared here. Those cancel. I can combine that and that. So let's write everything else. Remember, we always write our biggest exponent first. So negative 4x cubed plus 7x plus 14. All right, now we've got it in standard form. What's our leading coefficient? That's the number out front. The leading coefficient is 4. How many terms do we have? 1, 2, 3. So leading coefficient of 4, 3 terms. That is C. C. All right, down to number 4. 4 is just a plug-in. A certain population of bacteria has a growth rate of 0.04 bacteria per hour. The formula for growth of the bacteria's population is that where P sub 0, let me underline here, P sub 0 is the original population and T is the time in hours. Well, it says if I begin with 400, so that's my original, 400 would go right there. How many bacteria can you expect after 100 hours? So this is a plug-in. A equals 400, 2.71828 times 0.04 times 100. And when you do that math, you will get 21,839, which is answer D. Okay, good. Number 5. Your basic monthly charge for a cell phone is $35, which includes 250 free minutes. So for 35 bucks, we get that many minutes. We know that's not that much. You pay a fee for each extra minute you use. 1 month, you paid $7.50 for 25 minutes. So this is going to tell you, for your plan, how much money is for 1 minute. So if $7.50 is for 25 minutes, to get 1 minute, we simply divide. Sorry, having technical difficulty here. So when we divide 750 by 25, we get 30 cents per every 1 minute. So each extra minute costs us 30 cents. So it says find your total bill if you use 47 extra minutes. So I've got 47 times 0.3. But is that my whole bill? No. I've got an extra $35 plus $35. 47 times 0.3 plus 35 gives me $49.10. So the answer is C. All right, good. Scroll down here to number 6. A runner. Okay, we got a runner running 7 days. 3 days, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, he ran at a rate of 0.12 mile per minute for 50 minutes. On Tuesday and Saturday, he ran 0.14 miles for 60 minutes. On Sunday, the runner ran 0.08 miles for 1 hour and 30 minutes, and we're doing everything in minutes. So this is 1 hour and 30 minutes is 90 minutes. What was the total mileage the runner covered during the week? Well, we know that distance equals rate times time. So on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the distance equals the rate, 0.12, times the time, 50 minutes. And he did that for 3 days. So we're going to put a multiplier in there of 3. But there was more, plus. Tuesday and Saturday, so 2 days, he ran 0.14 miles for 60 minutes. And that was a multiplier of 2 for 2 days. Plus, what was that, 2 days? Yes, on Sunday, oh, he evidently didn't run on Thursdays. Okay, so only 6 days this week. Sunday, the runner ran for 0.08 miles per minute for 90 minutes. So 0.08 for 90 minutes, and that's a multiplier of 1. So we leave it just like it is. Do the math there, we get 42 miles, which is D. D. All right, let's look down. We've got an inequality here graphed. Well, a couple things. So we see our shaded area. We got our shaded area down here. And we have a solid line. So remember we talked about inequalities. You do a solid line if you have a greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. You do a dotted line if you just have a less than or greater than. So we know it's got to be one of these 3. Now we just have to go look at what our line is. Remember, the line is in y equals mx plus b form. B is the y-intercept, and m is the slope. So what's the y-intercept? Where does our line touch the y-axis? right down here, -2. So this value is -2. And what's our slope? Well, rise over run. I'm going from this point. Let's find another good point. Here's another good point. So our rise is actually down, so it's negative. 1, 2, 3, 4. So down 4, -4, and over 1, 2, 3. So slope -4/3. So we can write this y equals -4/3 x minus 2, and I only have that once over here. -4/3 x minus 2. So the answer is B. Good. Number 8 is a simple one, I hope. If n equals -6, then determine the value of n squared minus 4 times n. So we're simply plugging in -6. -6, no, it's not -6, sorry, it's +6, isn't it? +6. So 6 squared minus 4 times 6. 6 squared is 36, minus 4 times 6 is 24. 36 minus 24 is 12. So our answer is C. Answer is C. All right, Mr. Jim. Jim's got a bicycle business. It says Jim owns a business that produces bicycles. He must bring in more revenue than he pays out in costs in order to turn a profit. All right, that makes sense. You've got to sell for more than you make something for so you can have a profit. If you don't do that, you're going to have a loss. So here's the information. Oh, I'm going to jump. This is all jumbled. I'm going to move this all to the, oops. Well, I was trying to fix things. I didn't. It says, well, let's try this again. All right, I moved this all to the next so we can see all the problem together. All right, it costs him $5 in labors and material to make each of his bikes. So it costs him $5 to make the bikes. His rent each month for his factory is $3,500. So it costs him $5 to make it. The rent he pays and the space he uses is $3,500, and he sells each bike for $10. Now, we don't right now know how many bikes he has to sell, but we're going to figure it out. So, for every bike he makes, how much profit does he make on a bike? Well, he makes it for 5, sells it for 10, so he's making $5. So I'm going to say $5 times the number of bikes he sells minus the $3,500 it costs for rent is going to equal how much profit he has, right? If he sells 1,000 bikes, he'll be at 5,000 minus $3,500, and he'll make a profit. So however many bikes he sells times $5 minus the $35 for rent has to be bigger than 0. He's trying to make a profit. All right? So it says how many bikes does he need to sell each month to make the minimum profit. That's why we put 0. The minimum is going to be like $1. So let's see. We're going to add $3,500 to both sides. Gives us 5x is greater than 3,500. Divide both by 5. Run over here. So x has got to be greater than 700 bikes. So how many bikes does he need to make to, oops, that's ugly. How many bikes does he need to make to turn a profit? 701 bikes. If he makes 700, he's going to be right at 0. He needs 701 to make more than 0. He needs to sell 701, I should say. All right, next problem. Simple one here. Which graph is shown? Well, we do it just like we did a minute ago. Everything, all these are in y equals mx plus b form. So we need to find the y-intercept, and we need to find the slope. and then we can just match it up over here. So where does it intersect the y-axis? Right there, at 4. So the y-intercept is 4. Well, I know right now it's either this one or this one, because they both have a y-intercept of 4. What's going to be the difference is the slope. So slope, I find a point, and then I go to the right and find another point. There it is. That point crosses nicely. Well, how do I get from the left to the right? I went down 2 and over 3. So the rise was -2, the run was 3. So my slope is -2/3. Slope is -2/3. The one that works there is A. Y equals -2/3 plus 4. Y equals -2/3 plus 4. All right. Next problem. This is an easy breezy one too, I hope. The operating budget for a small food side stand in a park should be under $12,000 for the year. So he doesn't want to be over $12,000 in his budget to run the place. How many years illustrated below did the pizza food side stand go over budget? So we just look at the graph and say, how many times was he over $12,000? Well, this is the yearly operating budget for pizza side stand in thousands of dollars. So this is $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000. How many times was he over this $12,000 mark? He's over here, he's over here, he's over here. Easy peasy, the answer is B. 3 times he was over the $12,000 operating budget. All right, next problem, number 12. This is a literal equation. We did literal equations back in the beginning of the year. And basically what we do with literal equations is we solve for a different variable. We solve for something. So the equation below says A equals 1/2 BH. A equals 1/2 BH. And I want to rearrange that. So I got to see what works. Let's start with A. Is this the same thing as B equals 2A plus H? Well, let's see. If I'm going to move this to the side, A equals 1/2 BH. How do I solve this for B? I want to get B all by itself. Wouldn't the first step be to multiply by 2? If I multiply by 2, wouldn't this fraction go away? So if I multiply one side by 2, I've got to multiply the other side by 2. That gives me 2A equals BH. That's B times H. I reverse multiplication with division. Divide both sides by H, divide both sides by H. There we go. B equals 2A over H. So yes, this one does work. We don't have to go any further. We don't have to change anything else and look for anything else. That one worked just fine. All right, number 13 is another literal equation. It says which equation is equivalent to 4n equals 2t minus 3 when solved for t. So I want to get t by itself and see which of these it works with. Well, first we'll distribute. So we have 4n equals 2t minus, we did 2t minus 2 times 3 is 6. Well, I want t by itself, so I better get rid of this 6 plus 6 plus 6. Makes 4n plus 6 equals 2t. Still want t by itself, so let me divide by 2. And there we have it. T equals 4n plus 6 over 2. Found my answer. It is C. C. All right, number 14. I got column 1 and column 2. I'll move over here where I can see my whole problem. Column 1 is the smallest solution of x minus 2 greater than or equal to 7. How do I solve that inequality? Easy. Just add 2. Add 2, add 2. So x is greater than or equal to 9. What's the smallest solution of that? What's the smallest number where x is greater than or equal to 9? Simple. It's 9. 9 is the smallest solution because it's everything equal to 9 or greater. Column 2 says the greatest solution of x plus 3 less than or equal to 12. Easy solution here. Subtract 3, subtract 3. So it's x's that are less than or equal to 9. And the biggest solution there, it's 9 again. Because 9's as big as you can get, everything else is less than. So they are equal to each other, so the answer is C. They're equal to each other, so the answer is C. All right, number 15. Another literal equation here in 15. We have to solve for x. I'm going to write this over here where I can write below it. Y equals 3/5 x plus 9. So I want to get x by itself. First step, let's subtract 9 from both sides. That will give me y minus 9 equals 3/5 x. Alright, well I just got to get rid of that 3/5 times x. How do I reverse a fraction? I multiply by the reciprocal. So if I multiply this side by 5/3, the 5's cancel out, the 3's cancel out, I'm just left with x. But I have to do the same thing with this one. Multiply by 5/3. On the right, I just have my x. On the left, that's 5/3 y. Do we have to go any further? Look at my answer choices. Only one has positive 5/3 y. The answer is B, but I'll go ahead and finish it. How do we get negative 15? Well, minus 9 times 5/3. Do a little cross canceling. This makes that a 3. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. So I do have 5/3 y minus 15 equals x. So the answer is B. All right, number 16. Which equation is equivalent to that equation? So we've got to find an equivalent equation. How do we do that? Oh, we got to add fractions. Anybody around remember how to add fractions? We need a common denominator. We need a common denominator. So we have 3 and 9. What's going to be our common denominator? It'd be the big one, because isn't 9 a multiple of 3? Sure it is. So my common denominator is going to be 9. So my second fraction doesn't change. My first fraction changes though. How did I go from 3 to 9? I multiply by 3. So I got to multiply the top by 3 also. 3 times 5x is 15x. Now I have a common denominator, so my denominator when I add them is going to be 9. Actually, I'm subtracting here. 15 minus 2x is 13x over 9 equals 8. I got to get rid of that 9, so I multiply both sides by 9. And by 9, this cancels out. And on the left, I have 13x. On the right, I have 8 times 9 is 72. So the answer is A. The answer is A. All right, number 17 is another one where you got to add some fractions. It says, which expression represents all values of x for the inequality 2/3 plus x/3 greater than 1 is true? Well, I can add those fractions easily, can't I? because I have the same denominator. So my denominator is 3. I just add the numerator. 2 plus x greater than 1. All right, what's the first step in solving this? Hopefully you said multiplying by 3. 3 here, 3 here. Those cancel out. And I have 2 plus x is greater than 3 when I multiply 1 times 3. Almost done. Subtract 2 from both sides. X is greater than 1. So B is my answer. B is my answer. Alrighty, number 18. Number 18. Scroll down here. A ferry carries passengers back and forth between two communities on the Peachville River. It takes 30 minutes longer for the ferry. No.
I'm not finding anything for carry back and forth between two.
All right. Siri, I'm not talking to you. Sorry about that. Siri just woke up and decided to have a conversation. It takes 30 minutes longer for the ferry to make the trip upstream than downstream. The ferry's average speed in still water is 15 miles an hour, and the river's current is 5 miles an hour. That's a big mess, but they give you the equation for it. Here it is. The equation can be used to determine how many miles apart the cities are. How many miles apart the cities are. What is m? So this is going to be another fraction one. So let's first of all just do a little simplifying. Isn't that m over 10, 15 minus 5, equals m over 20 plus 0.5? Well, let's get the m's on the same side. So let's subtract m over 20. Subtract m over 20. So on the left, I have m over 10 minus m over 20 equals 0.5. Okay, let me go up this way to keep working. What's my common denominator between 10 and 20? That's right, it's going to be 20. I'm going to have 20 as a common denominator. So my second fraction doesn't change. It's still m over 20. My first fraction, though, how do I go from 10 to 20? I multiply by 2. So isn't that going to be 2m? So now, combining my like terms, my denominator is 20. 2m minus m is just m. So m over 20 equals 0.5. Almost done here. What do? Multiply both sides by 20 so I can cancel that out. Multiply by 20. So m equals 0.5 times 20 is 10 miles. So 10 miles is the answer there. All right, scrolling down here. Number 19. A manager is comparing the cost of buying ball caps with the company emblem from two different companies. Company X charges $50 fee plus $7 per cap. Company Y charges $30 fee plus $9 per cap. It says, for what number of ball caps will the manager's cost be the same for both companies? Well, if I want to know when the cost is going to be the same, I know the cost of X, I know the cost of Y, we simply set them equal to each other. X is $50 plus $7 per cap. Write that a little more legibly. $50 plus $7 per cap. Set that equal to the other one. $30 plus $9 per cap. All right, let's do some math. Let's subtract 7c from both sides. Gives me 50 equals 30 plus 2c. Let's move this to over there, so let's subtract 30 from both sides. Continue it up here. 50 minus 30 is 20 equals 2c. Divide both by 2. C equals 10. 10 caps. 10 caps will be the point where the manager's costs are the same. If you order 10 cap from X and 10 caps from Y, you'd have the exact same cost. Alright, we have a pair of inequalities below. Let's go check them out. Number 20. Which pair of inequalities is shown on the graph? I'm not sure you can tell on your piece of paper, but we are shaded in here. Doesn't really matter to the problem, but that's where the shading is if you can't tell on your graph. I just really need to look at both these lines, figure out what the equations of both these lines are, then I'll have it. Alright, let's do the first. Oops, lost my pen. Let's do the first one. What's the equation of this line? Well, I cross right here, and I get another cross right there. So the first thing I know is the y-intercept equals 1. And then I also want to know the slope. What's the slope equal? Well, down 1, 2, 3, over 1, 2, 3. Down 3 over 3. Down 3 over 3, so my slope is just -1. So in y equals mx plus b form, that's y equals -1x plus 1. -1x plus 1 is one of my lines. So already I know it's either got to be this one, because there I see -x plus 1, or this one, -x plus 1. We just now have to look at the second line. Well, the second line, remember I need to know the same two things. I need to know the y-intercept, and I need to know the slope. Well, where does it touch the y-axis? Well, it doesn't touch the y-axis. Well, we don't see it touching the y-axis. But if I draw my line, if I just continue this line straight, where will it hit the y-axis? Right there. It will hit the y-axis at -5. So the y-intercept is -5. Then we look, we've got a point here, we got a point here, let's say. How do I get there? I go up 2, I go over 2. Slope 2 over 2 is +1. So, which of these equations works? Well, this has a +1 slope, so this is my answer. This had a -1 slope, so that couldn't have been my answer because my slope was +1. So the answer here is A. Alright, going down to problem number 21. Which ordered pair is a solution for the system? Now, to be a solution for a system, a solution is where the two lines meet. So this is the easiest problem on this whole paper probably. Where do these two lines meet? They meet at 3, 1. Done. A. They meet at 3, 1. That's all we had to do. Alright, turn the page. Let's go down to number 22. We're almost done for the day. Alright, nope, my clock's going off. That's annoying. Mr. Tony operates a facility that assembles televisions and computers. Alright, for a television, it takes 5 days to assemble and 2 days to finish. That's for the television. Now for a computer, it takes 4 days to assemble and 3 days to finish. There is a maximum of 180 days allowed for assembly, so the 180 goes with the assemblies, and 135 goes for the finishes. So each of these has 180 on one of them and 135 on one of them. Well, the 180s are for the assemble. And to assemble, I need 5 days for televisions. We'll call that X. And how many days to assemble a computer? 4 days. Plus 4Y. Less than or equal to 180 days. Well, there's my first. Which one goes with that? Here. And here. So one of those two. Now let's look at the finishing line. It takes 2 days, 2x to finish a television, and it takes 3 days to finish a computer, less than or equal to 135. So there we have our answer, B.
Will Snipes and Akia Brooks, please report to the front office. Will Snipes and Akia Brooks. Thank you.
Nice announcement there. All right, number 23. How many solutions would the following system have? We know what it means to be a solution. To be a solution is where the two graphs meet. So our choices are 2, 1, none, or infinitely many. So I have to set these two equal to each other. Well, not equal to each other, but I got to get them together somehow. Here, I know what x is. This equation tells me what x is. So can I take what x is and plug it right into that next one? Sure I can. That's called substitution. We did that before. So I'm going to plug in what x is right there. So this gives me y equals 2, and instead of x, I'm going to plug this in. 1/2 y minus 3. Then I still have my plus 6. All right, let's simplify. Y equals 2 times 1/2 y is simply 1y. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Oops. Negative 6 plus 6. Well, don't these cancel out, the negative 6 and plus 6? And so I have y equals y. Well, when y equals y, how many points is that? That's every point there is. Infinitely many points. Because any point I think of for y, I have the same value here. So infinitely many times these meet. What this really means is that you got two lines and they're just drawn right on top of each other. Two lines drawn on top of each other. They meet together an infinite number of times. All right, and lastly for the day is number 24. Which shows the correct solution to that? Well, we got to simplify it first. I'm going to write over here where I can simplify it.
David Johnson, please report to the front office. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Negative 2x plus 4 is less than 12. So subtract 4 from both sides. Negative 2x is less than 8. Divide both sides by negative 2. X is, when I divide by a negative, remember what happens to this symbol? Whenever you multiply or divide by a negative, the symbol flips over. So I have x is greater than negative 4. So which ones have greater than negative 4? That one and that one. But which is it? Is it an open circle or a closed circle? Open or closed? Well, there's no greater than or equal to. That's an open circle. So the answer there is B. All right, that concludes part 1 of the review. You can go ahead and turn this off, and we will pick up the other one tomorrow. Thank you.